Let's get ready together today and do this super smoky glam. I'm going to hydrate my skin and give myself a nice little glow with the Auric Glow Lust before my foundation. I already have my skincare on. I've let it set for about 15 minutes, so we are good to go. I'm going to let that primer sit for a couple minutes before I put on my foundation. All right, I'm going to go in with one of my absolute favorite foundations of all time. This is the Hourglass Vanish Stick Foundation. This is a brand new one because I went through my entire old one. I'm just going to draw directly onto my skin. I always take it down the neck. I definitely prefer a stick or cream foundation using a foundation brush rather than a sponge. I just find that it blends so much easier. I'm gonna use this airbrush foundation brush from It Cosmetics, and I'm gonna start kind of stamping this in. I'm not gonna really swirl because I want the most coverage that I can get. I'm just kind of stamping and barely moving my brush. This is what the skin is looking like right after applying foundation. The glow is definitely showing through from the Glow Lust from Auric. We're moving on to concealer. I'm gonna go in with the Tarte Ultra Creamy Concealer. This is in the shade Light Neutral. And I'm just gonna put it in my inner corner and a little bit down the sides of my nose. I like to prep for eyeshadow on my eyelids and then add some more coverage on my chin. I am gonna take my e.l.f. Total Face Sponge to blend that out, and we're gonna bounce up and down. I let my foundation dry down for about a minute or two before I went in with my concealer, just so nothing kind of moves around when I start blending out my concealer and adding powders. I'm bringing whatever is left over around the sides of my nose because I have a lot of redness and scarring around there. All right, let's move on to setting powders. For under my eyes, I'm gonna use the Essence Brighten Up Banana Powder, and I'm just gonna take a small fluffy brush and just pat right under my eyes, back and forth. I'm gonna set my eyelids as well and bring it down the sides of the nose. I'll just take a little bit on my chin to brighten and a little bit between my brow. All right, for the rest of my face, this is a brand new product for me. I just used it in another video and absolutely loved how it looked. This is the No. 7 Lift and Illuminate Triple Action Pressed Powder. I have mine in the shade Light. I just picked this up at Walgreens. I think you can get it at CVS as well. I'm just gonna take a fluffy powder brush and start pressing that in anywhere I didn't put my banana powder. I really like this powder because it looks very airbrushed and flawless, but it still has a little bit of glow to where I'm not looking super dry and matte. I'm looking very pale, so I definitely want to add some warmth back into my skin. So I'm going to go in with this Fenty bronzer in the shade Private Island. I'm going to take it on an angled fluffy brush and start tapping and sweeping it in on the high points of my face, anywhere I would naturally get sun-kissed. I'm gonna go ahead and take a stippling brush and blend that out just to make sure everything is seamless and not patchy. I am doing a pretty glam look today, so I definitely want to contour. I'm going to take this Essence Contouring Duo in the shade Light and just kind of sculpt out my cheekbones. I'm going to do the sides of my nose just really quick, and then under my chin as well. And again, going back in and blending that out. I kind of want like a berry blush today, so I'm going to go in with this Buxom Primer Infused Wanderlust blush in the shade Dolly. Taking that on an angled brush and just sweeping up. And I'm kind of getting into my outer corner of my eye and on my temple as well. On me, this is a very pigmented blush, so I'm definitely going to go in and blend it out just to make it less harsh at the end. I do a little bit on my nose as well. I do look very crazy right now, but I will make it more subtle, I promise. I'll just take a clean brush and start to swirl gently. And it's much more subtle than the other side. Let's go ahead and add some highlight. I'm going to use Cookie by Benefit. This is a very blinding highlight, so I'm going to take it on a bit of a fluffier brush just so it's not too much. I'm just going to sweep it on the top of my cheeks. I'll get my nose. And then whatever's left over on the brush, I'll just put in the center of my face, like my chin and in between my brows. Just so everything looks nice and healthy and glowy, but it's not too metallic. Okay, I definitely want to look very sculpted today since we're doing a very glam look. So I'm going to take that setting powder I used and a little rectangular brush and just clean up under my contour and sculpt out those cheekbones. Next, we're gonna move on to brows, and then we're gonna do something really fun and dramatic with the eyes. I'm just gonna do my brows with my NYX Micro Brow Pencil in the shade Ash Brown. I brush up my hairs, and then I use the pencil side and kind of feather in little brush strokes. I really focus on the tail because that's where I have the most sparse areas and need the most help. And to fluff up my brows, I'll take the Benefit 24-Hour Brow Setter and just brush them up. This is like the best brow gel ever in my opinion. All right, time for eyes. I'm gonna use the Huda Beauty Rose Quartz palette today. This is what it looks like inside. And we're gonna do something super cool tone and smoky today. All right, I'm gonna take a big fluffy blending brush and I'm gonna go into the shade Radiate. And I'm gonna start focusing these shades on the very outer corner of my eye. I'm not gonna use a transition shade and go back and forth today. I want this to be very lifted and give me kind of a cat eye. I always copy what I do on one eye to the other immediately, so I remember what colors I'm using and what technique I used. I never just do one eye on its own. All right, and the darker the shadow, the smaller the blending brush I'm going to use. So each time I'm going to go down in size with my blending brushes. I'm going to go into the shade Aura and just keep that in the same spot I put the first shade. And I'll take the first brush I used and just go and blend that out just to make sure it's not patchy and everything blends together really nicely. And then I'm going to go in with the gray shade, which is Precious. Even smaller brush and the outer corner as well. but keeping it a little bit lower than the other ones. Right, and I'll take my smallest blending brush that I'm going to use today and go into the shade Mantra and just keep that on the very, very outer corner. And I'm kind of tapping this in rather than swiping because I want a lot of pigment from it. And I also don't want fallout since I've already done my base. And I'm gonna very gently blend that out. I don't want to be putting too much pressure because I want to keep a lot of the pigment, and the more pressure you have, the more blended it's gonna be. So I'm just barely feathering this. Now, I typically do very rounded eyeshadow. I really like that look on me, but I know a lot of people really like a sharp line. So I'm going to show you how to make it go from rounded to more sharp if you wanted to do that. You could also keep it rounded if you like that shape on you as well. I'm going to dip into the last two dark shades that I used, and I'm going to take a little tiny shader brush like this, and I'm going to dip it flat on top of the brush, not on the side. Tap off the excess because you're going to work really slowly, and you're going to take right here on your lower lash line and follow it up just a touch. Build that up, and then you're going to take the tip of that and just extend it over to your lid. You've already got the basis of that shape now. Okay, I'm gonna take a big shader brush that's really fluffy, and I'm gonna start to blend out the middle where this starts really gently. And then I'm just gonna feather the top of that so it's not too harsh of a line. And I'm barely touching the brush to my skin. And I'm not going back and forth throughout my whole eye. I'm stopping where the pigment starts. Basically, I don't really want to change the shape or anything when I'm blending. I just want to make sure it's not super harsh. And then I'll do the same on the bottom. Just going with the shape of it. And then you can see the difference. This is a really, really harsh line. And this is nice and blended, but still comes to a point. Now, let's say things got a little bit messy and you want it to be cleaned up a little bit. You're gonna take a tiny bit of concealer on the back of your hand and a very, very flat concealer brush like this. You're gonna dip it in and then tap it out on the other part of your hand, just so there's barely any product on there. And you will go and clean up. And you can start to take this and clean up and sharpen that line. And then I just kind of feather that down. And I'm talking barely any product. You do not want to take a big glob of concealer and do this. It will ruin the rest of your makeup. And that kind of took away some of your bronzer, so I just go back in with a little blending brush in the whatever bronzer I used. And I just fill that back in to make sure it's not like a harsh white line there. All right, let's move back on to the rest of the shadow. You can add glitter or shimmer to this, absolutely, but I know there is a lot of people who do not like shimmer at all. So I'm gonna use a matte shade today. I'm gonna go in with Cherished on a flat shader. I'm gonna take that right on the inner corner and then bring it right to where the rest of the shadow is. And I'll take my first blending brush and just feather that back and forth to make sure it's blended. All right, then we're gonna do our lower lash line, mascara, and lashes. I'm gonna take the shade Precious on a shader brush and connect where that wing is and bring it about halfway in to where my middle of my eye is. And then I'm just gonna add a little bit of glitter in my very inner corner. I'm gonna take Moon Magic on a tiny little brush and just put that in my inner corner. You can skip this step, or if you want something more subtle, you can just use whatever highlighter you used on your face. And I'll take that right below my brow bone as well. I am just gonna do a quick coat of mascara. This one is from Fenty Beauty, and then we'll apply lashes. I definitely want to do a dramatic lash to match my dramatic eye makeup. So I'm going to use the Kiss lashes in the style Legacy from the Muses collection. Alright, the drama is here with these lashes. I love them. So let's move on to lips. I'm going to overline my lips with the ColourPop Lippy Pencil in the shade BFF2. Then I'm going to use a matte lipstick from MAC in the shade Yash. And finally on my lips, I'm going to use the ColourPop Ultra Glossy Lip in the shade Major Throwback. Let's finish with setting spray. I'm going to use Milani Make It Last. Make sure to fully saturate your face. You want to look super sweaty when you're done, and just let it dry. And this is the completed look. It's definitely very smoky and dramatic on the eyes, and I love it. If you have any questions or comments, leave it down below and let me know what you want to see next from me. Thanks for watching, guys.